Hi, Srila. What brings you to Sydney?
Hi, Aisha. I'm in Sydney as the 2022 Hans Symes Chair in Sexuality Studies, which, as you know, is an initiative of Shark.
What are you working on nowadays?
So I work in the area of transnational gender and sexuality studies, and I'm actually at the end of one project and at the beginning of the other. So the project I'm ending is a really long research, which is culminated in a book, which is called Changing the Subject, Gender and Queer Politics in Neoliberal India. That project effectively looks at how the terrain of organizing around gender and sexual rights in India has changed as a result of globalization. And I look at two organizations that are located in this broader context, and the book discusses the impacts of those organizations. The other thing that I've been thinking about more recently is the politics of comparison and transnational feminism in the global south. And that's why actually being in Australia is really exciting because most of my work has been across India or South Asia and South Africa, but speaking to colleagues and students here has added another dimension to that.
What are some of the key findings from your research?
So, I suppose one of the key findings of the book, Changing the Subject, is how feminist politics in our parts of the world, so outside of the North in the global South, reorient our attention to place and time, by which I mean that they draw our attention to much more local histories of struggles and of social movements, whether those are leftist or feminist, and how that history informs the experience of contemporary organizing, which is queer or non queer feminist. And I think this is particularly important in a broader context where we think of the local as very much in the light of global forces. And what my book is trying to suggest that while those global dimensions are of course important, we shouldn't lose sight of actually enduring local histories and the importance of particular locations.
So you said you're a 2022 Hans Symes Fellow at Shark. How did you develop your research collaborations in Sydney, and who are you collaborating with?
So, as the Hans Symes visiting chair, I am hosted by two departments at the University of Sydney. One is the Department of Political Economy, and my hosts there are Professor Adam Morton and Dr. Elizabeth Hill. And my other host is your former Department of Gender and Cultural Studies, and my host there is Dr. Shauna Tang. And I think it's really interesting that it sort of epitomizes the interdisciplinary nature of my work, but also I think of Shark's mandate that I'm hosted by these very different departments. On the one hand, political economy speaks to my interests and expertise in gender and development. And on the other hand, gender and cultural studies speaks to my interests in feminist theorizing around sexuality in particular. But I feel like these different disciplines are often not brought in conversation with each other, which is what my book and my research tries to do. But the collaboration has also helped in actually speaking to colleagues who seem quite differently located, but to think about how they have conjoined interests. And actually, when we do think of the realm of gender or sexuality today, we can't actually not think of questions to do with political economy on the one hand, and we can't also think of, culture as something that's superstructural, for instance. We actually have to speak at the crossroads of both these distinct analytics.
Thank you for your time, Srila, and thank you for visiting us here in Sydney.